Hello everyone, welcome back to Neutralix. I'm your host Cosolix. Today we're going to be talking about how to counter and beat every weapon in Brawlhalla. Without further ado, let's get right into this. So I'm in training, I set the bot to be on hard difficulty and I set the hammer. We're just going to be starting with hammer. Basically, I'm just going to explain it while pausing the game and then kind of show you the strategy I'm using against it. Hammer has a lot of stagnant, grounded options. There's side lights and D lights, but so in neutral, it's a pretty slow weapon, especially horizontally. But you have to be really careful for its gimp, so watch out for wake up dares, watch out for recoveries off stage, don't get cheesed. But in neutral you should be able to wait out some options because they're more punishable than a lot of other weapons in the game. So just like this, I'm in neutral, you kind of wait stuff out, like that down there you kind of lose momentum, that's down light you lost momentum, you kind of weapon mash or kind of mashed. But you can see I'm in neutral, that side light very slow, same thing there. It's a lot of kind of wait out these dumb options, but watch out for things like the recoveries. And if you're chase dodging, like that wake up ground pound or wake up down there is something that a lot of hammer players do, so you kind of don't want to be off stage. Be very cautious of that recovery, not edge guarding too much, wait out the recovery, and then yeah, you can kind of do your thing. You had no options, so no recovery, and it's as easy as that. You just wait out hammers, kind of slow options in neutral, like the nice down there. But like the side lights specifically, that down there you kind of wait out a lot. That down there is very fast. Bots are actually crazy at hammer. It's only a hard bot. Down there is slow. That Sarah was slow. Why are you wake up ground pounding? It's just waiting out these neutral and options, and hammer's neutrals are worse than other weapons, so just be ready for that. Use some good movement. Doesn't have like on the ground, it doesn't have something that hits directly above, so you can kind of aggress a little bit diagonally if they're grounded like that. Just little things to think about. So it's slow, doesn't have a vertical option while grounded, has nair, so you kind of got to watch out for that. But if they're sticking to the ground, it's just something you can think about. I'm also just not getting a weapon because turned off weapon spawns, but just like this, watch out for that. You see how slow that side light is? That nair is pretty slow. That was slow. That side light is so slow, and you just wait out those options and watch out for the cheese essentially. Okay, so next we got sword. Sword is just really good in neutral. It's very fast. There are some slow options, like that side light's pretty slow, the end light is. There's a lot of mashing because it's like tight frames, so be ready for that. But it's also similar to hammer. It doesn't have a diagonal on the ground, so you can kind of aggress diagonally. Obviously be careful of things like neutral sigs kind of covering that dead zone. But again, a lot of these weapons on the ground have slow options, so you can kind of wait those out and whatnot. Hammer or sword Sarah is pretty slow. Recovery and nair is something you have to watch out for. Like if you're above a sword player and they're nairing, they're doing recoveries, it's pretty unpunishable, so watch out for that. If they're directly above you, they also have down there, so you don't want to be directly below a sword player or directly above them. The goal is kind of diagonal because that's kind of a dead zone, and then wait out these slow grounded moves like the neutral lights and the side lights and the down light. It really stagnates your momentum completely. It stops you. So just using good movement to make them miss. They don't have a sword here, but nice Sarah. But you'll kind of see that recovery is unpunishable, so you kind of just want to avoid it. Same with like side air, or not sorry, nairs and dares tend to be very difficult to punish, and light also has low recovery frames, so even though it stalls your momentum, a lot of the time they can just keep mashing attacks, so you don't want to try and punish a lot of stuff. You want to be very cautious. It's hard for sword players to aggress you, that's why Megdi doesn't. And so just be kind of smart and patient. That side light creates a very punishable option, and you can see they're able to mash, but they will be vulnerable, so just waiting for them to continue mashing and make mistakes just like that. And yeah, again, like I said before, it's a lot of grounded options, no diagonal, so you can kind of aggress from the air a lot of the time, and that will work. You just don't want to be too low. So I'll kind of show you what I mean. If they're grounded, they have a jump Sarah, but a little bit further away, no options. See what I mean? Just like over here, they can't do anything. I can react to options. You don't want to be directly above, like I said, but you see what I mean. Just slightly out of range, and their slowness will make them punishable, especially with the current day movement. There, I got a little too close. And punishable. There, I got too close. You don't want to be close vertically. You don't want to be close stacked. You just kind of want to be that diagonal away. You can be horizontal away or diagonal away. The only horizontal move you have to watch out for is side lights. So just don't be too close. Sword's very good up tight. So if a sword player is kind of really aggressing you, you might want to reposition. Okay, next we got blasters. So like a lot of other weapons I mentioned, the ground and neutral stall your momentum, but they're really good at baiting. So be careful punishing stuff. Blaster players will throw out a lot of baits, a lot of moves that actually are unpunishable that you might think are punishable, but they do stall your momentum. So it's about picking and choosing, making that right decision. The grounded options don't have a diagonal. They have to jump Sair, so you kind of safe far away grounded. Watch out for certain moves, like recovery is pretty unpunishable because you can move in the recovery. And obviously it has really good grounded combo game stacked. You don't really want to be near stacked when they're trying to kill because you have to watch out for downlight. But take a look at this. You're a little bit further away. They're gonna, you know, stall their momentum with certain moves. Just like that side light stalls the momentum. That signature obviously does. That Sair doesn't as much. Bit hard to punish. This is just more the bot stalling momentum with signatures. That recovery is very difficult to punish, but you kind of wait it out just like any other weapon. Directly below is a bit tricky. Blasters have really great neutral options, but they slow down your momentum, and it's a lot of kind of like baiting. So just be ready for those baits, because blaster players love to do them. Like that Sair there, that Sair there. That is just tons of baits. There's not much I can do. That one Sair almost stalled the momentum. You see how this is like almost unpunishable. That was a bad... The ground pound bounces. That's just something to think about. Right? That just stopped your momentum. It's a lot of like, see how slow that neutral light is, that dare lets you stack, just waiting for them to be vulnerable and picking and choosing the right option. Okay, next we got guitars. Guitars, you do not want to be stacked. You don't want to be diagonal because of downlight and recovery. You kind of want to be horizontal away because then you're not stacked. And a lot of Qatar's moves on the ground, they're not stagnant, but the end light's slightly stagnant. If you do play more of a stacked option like sword, you might want to be a little bit closer. But if you want to counter Qatar's, longer range weapons tend to be better. Qatar players will mash, and you can just out-prioritize them. I think Lance is a really good matchup for Qatar's. I think it's like a 60-40, 60 Lance, 40 Qatar's. Qatar players, they really want to be stacked on you. So just really watch out. They're going to be running at you. Don't be afraid to run. Just like that, I'm dashing away to avoid the side light. That diagonal, you really want to be careful of that, and don't contest off stage. Nair is also a ridiculously good stack tool on Qatar's to win neutral, so you kind of got to be ready for that. The key problem with Qatar's, it struggles to kill, and they don't do a lot of damage. So if you're losing neutral against Qatar's, don't be that mad at yourself. Treat it like any other weapon. You want to be a little bit further away, but this weapon is the best stacked. So try and be stacked in that like unreactable zone less often than against other weapons. The goal is to bait them out with movement and just be slightly too far. Just be ready for that. So I'll kind of even show you on bow. See, it's like hard. We just want to be slightly too far and bait them out with movement. That was a bad... There we go. That was like a bait in the ground pound. No, we bait them out with movement, punish that side light. Just slightly too far away. That was a bad down light. Watch out for the diagonal, like I just said. Get a clean punish there. We do not want to be stacked. So that is just something. No stack, no diagonal. Directly above is fine, but you want to be you don't want to be diagonal, so it's kind of risky. Because then you're going to have to be diagonal if they just reposition. And then you can see how fast they are, but they don't do a lot of damage. Just be ready for that. Don't dodge into them. Don't dodge into them. Going up and away, that's diagonal, but just away from them. You want to get away when you get hit. You don't want to go down. You don't want to go in. So just don't be stacked. That's what you got to think about. So here's the thing with Lance. Lance has no good diagonal options. So if you're trying to aggress, if the Lance player's on the ground and you want to aggress them, you can come in diagonally. Jump Nair is not going to be something that kills. Watch out for Lance players using jump dare. The biggest thing on Lance is the weapon is slow, so it's not falling for those momentum tricks like those siders and whatnot. You got to be really careful. The best option is big grounded hitboxes to punish these Lance Sairs is huge. If you're an axe player, that's great. As you can see there, if you're kind of aggressing vertically, there's not many options. So if you want to get stacked with them, if you're like a Katars player or something, aggressing slightly vertically is your way to go. Horizontal can be difficult, but can be done on the ground. And then if you really want to counter pick Lance, something to punish these Sares and Dares, like an Axe side light, a Canon downlight, are great tools. Take a look at this. I'm actually just going to play Axe really quick. We're going to wait out the Lance Dare. Easy. Wait out, stupid Lance, easy. Wait out, stupid Lance, easy. And the Lance player is probably going to side air, so that down air was bad. Watch this, they're going to side air. You just want to be a bit horizontal away on Axe. And then you can get free punishes. Big hitboxes, grounded, that also pick up a bit diagonal are nice. You can do things like orb side light, these nice horizontal punishes that Lance players can't use Sarah to get away from. And then look at that, how good it is vertically. I'm like directly above. They nair, you avoid it. Being directly above Lance is great. You don't want to be diagonal, but you definitely being directly above, they can't do that much. That was like a good side air, but most of the time you're going to win if you're directly above them if they're on the ground. If they're in the air, they have more tools to like recover you and whatnot. And then on the ground, wait them out horizontally if you're not directly above, and wait them out horizontally if you have the weapons that allow you to, like Axe or like Lance, for instance. Like there, I'm waiting it out horizontally, waited out that there horizontally. They make a lot of horizontal mistakes, as you can see there. Bad down there. Let's see what he does. Bad Sarah. But again, the Sarah has a ton of momentum, so it's being conscious of that. And then bad there. See. And you see what I mean. It's kind of just waiting out those stupid mistakes and then just being conscious of the momentum. Be vertical. Everything I just said. Okay, so now we got Spear. Spear is very similar to some other weapons like before. It has, if not the worst momentum of grounded moves. The side light and end light, they stall you. The nair stalls you. Doesn't have horizontal momentum. So beating Spear in general is kind of waiting it out horizontally, and it will like put itself in really bad positions. But there's a lot of there's no dead zones on Spear. The only dead zone is like stacked, which characters like Kaya cover for. So it's really waiting it out horizontally, getting them to make really dumb mistakes. Watch out, the Spear downlight is very difficult to punish, so just be ready for that. And also, if a Spear player dodges like that, you're not going to want to dodge down. If you dodge down or like spot dodge, they can double downlight. So just dodging up is usually better, and then changing it. So up and away, up and in. You want to go away from them at all possibilities. But take a look at this. That Sarah stalls momentum. You're on the ground. That nair stalls momentum. That downlight stalls momentum. They obviously didn't have that many recovery frames. Downlight is the only grounded move to like really watch out for. On the ground, he's gonna try and like side light, and they're just slow. The only thing with Spear, again, 0 dead zones. So you're gonna have to be really conscious and neutral. Spear is very good when it gets in, but if you're not like within Spear's range, it can be a very frustrating weapon to play against. I'll show you just one more time. A map like Small Brawl is like really good for Spear because it's hard to avoid it. But maps like Demon, like look at this. I'm just waiting out these like dumb grounded options. You see how slow it is? It's so slow. So people that mash Spear, you just want to wait out those grounded options and just be really conscious of your positioning so you're not within Spear's range. And I'm just waiting it out with unarmed completely. And then he lost the Spear. But if you get really close to a Spear user, they got 0 dead zones, so you gotta be really careful. Especially the recovering ground pound, they're like really clean. Like look at that nair as well, you don't want to be like too close. Okay, next we got Axe. Like a lot of the weapons in Brawlhalla, the grounded option's extremely slow. Just like Spear, it has almost no dead zones. Axe is very well rounded in terms of spacing, but it's extremely slow and reactable. So you can get a little bit closer than Spear and react to a lot of the moves. Just like that ground pound, that side light you can react to. You don't want to be stacked because Axe has end light. You don't want to be diagonal because there's down light. You can be above if they're on the ground, but nair is a really good option on Axe, so you don't really want to be above, but just being kind of away, faking them out, just having good movement, you want to get them to miss, because Axe is one of the most vulnerable weapons in the game if they miss. Just like Spear, but even more so. So you're kind of waiting it, like that ground pound, so slow. That side light, so slow. I reacted to that. I just didn't dodge through it properly. You can kind of see what I mean, though. It's those side lights. The end light stagnates you. The D light, you hold still. I can react to a lot of these moves. So just making them uncomfortable and just being conscious of the 0 dead zones. You want to make sure that they're missing. You can go and stack with them too. Like, you got quicker moves than they do. So if you're a Katars player, be ready for that. But also, if you can get them to miss, you can hit a dash side light. So it's kind of a bit of both. You can get up and close personally, but just be ready for the no dead zones, and you just got to be focused. Okay, next we got bow. You have to be really conscious of bow downlight. You can be like empty hopping away from it, because bow has so much range, some of the most in the game. You see I'm almost like jumping. You want to be careful with your landings against bow. The thing with bow is it's a little awkward at times. Like, you do have things to cover every dead zone, but you have to really like position yourself well. So if you're empty hopping and avoiding a lot of these options, you're going to be able to find punishes. So for instance, miss that Nair there. Like, Nair only picks up stacked, right? That was a bad sig. Bad down there. Down there is pretty accurate. A lot of the moves, you have to be pretty accurate. Don't be diagonal, because bow recovery is like nuts. Bow Sarah picks up stack. It has, like, it can cover every option in the game, but it doesn't automatically cover every dead zone. The bow player needs to be good to cover every dead zone. So it's just being conscious of the options when you're far away, empty hopping. If you're on a weapon like Lance, you can literally dash jump over a lot of Bow's moves. Like, you could be like dash jumping like this, and like you just jump over the moves. You jump over the down light, you jump over the side light, the Nair. You have to watch out for end light, but it's a pretty accurate move. So it's just being, you know, conscious, jumping over it. I'm even doing it unarmed. Just jumped over that. Definitely practice dash dancing, dash jump dancing. That was a bad Nair. A lot of Bow's moves, though, are quick, so you're going to want to be careful. It's very good, but again, the bow user, they're more inclined to miss because they have to be more accurate than other weapons. So just kind of be ready for that. Don't be diagonal. You can be directly above, but don't be diagonal. What I like to do is be empty hopping slightly further away. You avoid the downlight, and then you can be in a good position to land a lot of punishes. So I'll show you that one more time. Just kind of empty hop a little further away, and see I avoided that downlight. We're kind of jumping, jump, jump, avoid that, punish. We're just trying to avoid those horizontal moves, and by empty hopping, you're going to do that, and he missed. And you can see exactly what I'm doing here. You jump fast falling, let them miss, punish. Bow has to be accurate. So yeah, one more time, empty hopping, just missed. And that's how you beat Bow. Okay, so Gauntlets is very similar to Katars. They're great stacked. They don't have, like, their grounded true combo option is pretty accurate and downlight. Watch out for gravity cancel downlight. You can be a bit horizontal away because everything is so stacked. And even side light, it's not going to get true combos. You're going to have to watch out. Make sure you're changing up your dodge out of side light, because Gauntlet players will try and read you out of side light. But yeah, it's the same as all weapons. It's just kind of stay out of its range. Watch out diagonally just for side light on the ground. In the air, it doesn't have a diagonal option, so diagonal is very safe. And then we're just trying to wait out those options. Don't make mistakes. Just try not to be stacked, kind of like Katars. They want to be stacked with you. And then if you're on the ground, diagonal is pretty safe, except for like if they're on the ground. So just want to be careful of that. Just a bit further away, diagonal, empty hopping again, like, is pretty similar. All these weapons are pretty similar. It's just kind of think about their range. One thing you really need to watch out for: do not be vertical with gauntlets. If you're vertical with gauntlets, they're going to just be able to jump recover you. You see what I mean? Just like right there, you don't want to be there. If gauntlet players are trying to edge guard you, diagonal, very far horizontally away is good. You don't want to be close, because then they're going to side air you. And gauntlets on the ground, they have to be very accurate. They have to be stacked. So just not getting stacked with them and watching out for that side light. Other than that, you get them to miss, and then you punish them like any other weapon. They are fast, so it's a bit hard to punish. They constantly have movement, so it's making sure you're making the right decision. And another thing, don't be off stage. That Nair is deadly. Gauntlets, some of the best offstage conversions in the game, just because of Nair alone. So be very conscious about Gauntlet Nair. And in neutral, just don't be stacked. Don't be directly above and wait out the options. Just like a lot of other weapons. I wouldn't say it's waiting out the options, but it's getting them to miss. You can play aggressive to get them to miss, but we need to get your opponents to miss. So you can throw out attacks that are safe, but we want them to miss and be a little bit away from them. And don't be off stage. So Scythe is a weird weapon. Its actual neutral options are pretty slow. You don't have a lot of true combos. When you're 1v1ing it on stage, kind of have fun. Watch out for your dodge patterns, because if they catch a dodge, they can make a lot out of it. But Scythe players, you're going to have to really just watch out for dare, and especially near the wall. You don't want to be pushed off stage, because it's very hard to avoid getting gimped against Scythe. Scythe is tough to win neutral with, tough to get good conversions with, but if you're not mixing up your dodges, they can get good conversions. So you got to be very conscious of that. So don't be scared of neutral. They make a lot of mistakes. They don't have a lot of momentum. Side light. Look how stagnant that neutral light is. Look how stagnant that Sarah is landing. That dare is pretty stagnant. So again, neutral, you're fine. Just avoid the attacks. Maybe try not to, avoid their, understand their range. You don't want to be within their range that well. They don't have a ton of horizontal momentum, just like a lot of weapons like spear and whatnot. But do not take this weapon off stage. Do not take it near the edge unless you have a weapon that is very familiar with those situations. But it's just something to watch out for. Watch out for those dares. Make sure you're changing up your dodges so you're not getting red, because Scythe, it's all dependent on how well you know your opponent is going to dodge. So constantly change them up, and you're going to do just fine. And take a look at this in neutral. Look how slow it is. That was a good down air, but like that down air, that D-light is slow. It's stagnant. Obviously, it's a bit hard for me to punish on unarmed. I'm going to switch the lance here because I'm more used to that. But like that down air was slow. That Sarah was slow. That ground pound was slow. Nice down light. But look, no conversion. It's fine taking this weapon in neutral. I get a conversion there. That Sarah slow. I get a conversion there. And like, you just wait it out, basically. It's not very good at neutral. It's just insane at advantage state off stage. So you just got to be cautious of that. And you don't want to get your dodge caught. That is kind of all there is to it. Then you just treat it like any other weapon. Okay, next Canon. Canon's very similar to Lance, but with 0 dead zones on the ground. So you kind of just want to wait out for those moves that do stall the momentum. Side light stalls momentum a bit. Down light stalls momentum. You can kind of wait it out horizontally. It has a lot of like low recovery frame moves, so you're going to want to be careful. You'll see Canon players miss, and then you'll see them try and do a move right after. So you see that? They cover with the end light. So you're going to want to be very conscious of that. Watch out for Canon ground pound. They can release whenever they want, so it might be very difficult to punish. Canon's like a very cheese weapon. It's very similar to Lance, where it's like sometimes you can't tell when you can and can't punish it, but it does have moves that stall the momentum, so it's waiting for those moves that stall the momentum. And Canon doesn't have a lot of horizontal priority in neutral, so waiting out those moves is easier on this weapon than some other weapons. It's just got to be very conscious because of the low recovery frames. Downlight has a big hitbox too, just something to think about. Like, look at that, I can't punish that down air. So it's just making the right decisions and waiting for the right opportunity. One other thing, Canon players have a 0 to death. That's very easy. So make sure you're mixing up your dodges after things like down airs and whatnot. They'll hit like one down air, then try and side light Sarah recovery you. I'll actually show you the input. Here, give me 1 second. I just gotta pick a Canon myself. So take a look at this. Canon players will side light Sarah recovery. Like, I'll switch that to Canon. It's like this side light. It's like side light Sarah recovery. Oh my god, this bot is insane. You see that? That's kind of the combo. I kind of missed that there. Oh my god, stop dodging. Easy. See that combo there? So you're going to be able to mix up your dodges. I like to dodge up personally, but then it can get red with a GC side light at higher skill levels. Oh my god, they're just insane. I'm going to set this bot to just stand, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. It's this combo right here, and then, yeah. You can very quickly convert with 0 to deaths on Canon, so you have to mix up your dodges. So for instance, let's say the AI set to dodge up. You see this doesn't work anymore, but then take a look at this. It can still work. So you have to watch out mix up your dodges if you're in disadvantaged state. And then other than that, look at this. No priority, no priority, not much priority. You can wait these moves out, and they're stagnant, but they have low recovery frames. You do it there, then you just end light. Like, there's not many frames between these two. So watch out for things like that. They're baits. You watch out for the baits, punish properly, mix up your dodges, and don't be stacked. That's how you beat Canon. And Canon has a lot of momentum BS, so you just gotta learn to deal with it and avoid it, and pick and choose when to punish properly. Next we got Orb. Orb is a very diagonal weapon, so it's kind of watching out for those diagonals. I like to beat it horizontally. It's pretty stagnant horizontally. It's very similar to just sword, but diagonal. So everything that applies to sword, think of that, but diagonal. Side light, punishable. It stalls momentum. End light stalls momentum. D light kind of stalls momentum, but it's tough to punish sometimes, just like sword. But you just don't want to be diagonal, just like how on sword you don't want to be vertical. You can be vertical against Orb, right? The Orb recovery is diagonal, the downlights are diagonal. Look, like he can't really hit me there. Kind of far enough away. Orb is a lot of baiting, so baiting with downers and whatnot. You're going to want to make sure you're making the right decisions. But other than don't be diagonal, you treat this thing just like any other weapon. Try and punish effectively, avoid well, so just don't be diagonal, and you'll start avoiding attacks. Don't be really close stacked. Watch out for down air, like it's diagonal. Watch out for the diagonal. The vertical is pretty slow on Orb, so you can be vertical, but vertical can lead to diagonal, so you gotta watch out for that. And you can be horizontal as well. Like there is diagonal, I get hit. Other than that, watch what I said about sword, and yeah, there's a lot of stagnant stuff you kind of wait for. It's not that crazy off stage, and then there's, you know, character specific signatures to think about, but that's it. Okay, next is Greatsword. Greatsword's grounded moves, very stagnant. So you can wait them out all pretty horizontally, but you're going to have to be very careful what to punish because they can bridge into a million things. Also, change up your dodges. Greatsword players can cover every dodge with something, so you're just going to want to be careful of that. So take a look at this, right? You're kind of waiting it out. Look how slow that is. You see, it's like, it's pretty stagnant. It's just kind of making the right decision. So even though it is slow, they can kind of keep mashing attacks. So it's making sure you're just dodging and changing your dodges quite often, and then they're going to make themselves vulnerable because of just how Greatsword is. Like, look how vulnerable they get there. And then there, they get super vulnerable, but they can just keep spamming in a way. They get super vulnerable with side light. So again, mix up the dodges, wait out those horizontal vulnerabilities, and then you can get stacked right after that. Just gotta be careful of them just continue the mashing. Also, Greatsword's aerial kit is kind of broken. It just has tons of momentum with its Sair and Nair and recovery. And the dare is extremely good. You don't want to be vertical against Greatsword. So I like being kind of diagonally, but horizontal diagonally. That's also really good for Lance. There's certain weapons that you kind of don't want to be like that, but something like Katars, then you can Nair, you can kind of then Sair on Gauntlets. That horizontal diagonal is really nice. And then you get in stacked after. Even though I'm unarmed right here, horizontal diagonally, get them to miss, you know, I can kind of react to everything. And then they just start mashing, and then that's when you can kind of punish. You avoid a lot of the mashing, and then you can get the punish. I'm unarmed, so it's a bit harder for me to win those conversions, but you can kind of see what I mean. And just don't be vertical. If they're on the ground, they don't have a great vertical option, but that recovery, Nair, they're deadly. And vertical below, Dare is one of the best dares in the game. So just got to be really careful of that. So horizontally, you just make the right decisions, and make sure you're changing up your dodges, and then you should be good. You should be able to beat Greatsword. Okay. Oh my god. That was a J in sick. Last on the list, we got Battle Boots. So Battle Boots is kind of like Scythe, but stacked. So it's like Scythe and Katars have a baby. So you're going to want to be changing up your dodges. They don't do a lot of damage, but they're really good at winning neutral. So if you lose neutral, just like Katars, don't be like so worried. Make sure you're changing up your dodges. I don't recommend dodging in. Away is pretty nice, like up and away. But Battle Boots has kind of like infinite potential of combos, just like Scythe. So be careful with your dodges. Don't be stacked. Side light stalls your momentum. Down light stalls your momentum. End light stalls your momentum just like any other weapon on the ground. You can be directly above, but don't be right next to it directly above, because it has those stacked options. So kind of be just a little bit away from it, make them kind of mad. And then you just want to punish properly. They have a lot of momentum. Watch out for Sair. You can kind of steer Sair very well, so you're just going to want to be careful of that. Like, that Sair is really tough to punish. But other than that, you kind of play a little bit away from it, and then you should be able to get some nice punishes and mix up your dodges. It doesn't do a lot of damage, so don't be tilted if you lose neutral. And yeah, you just kind of wait it out. That Sair is really tough to punish, so be ready for that. Look at the bot. The bot's no to spam Sair, but waiting it out. Look, it doesn't get conversion there. I'm mixing it up. Doesn't kill that easily. Doesn't do a lot of damage that easily. Doesn't even want to kill with boots. It just throws it away. And then boom. The end light stalls your momentum. The side light is very projected. They're punishable. You just gotta not be stacked with it and change up your dodges. And then don't get mad if you lose neutral. Other than that, boots is not that hard to beat right now. I don't think it's like that crazy, but I think it has a lot of potential, just like when Scythe first released. No one really played Scythe at a top level when it was first out. Like, it was good, don't get me wrong, but it was extremely difficult for a lot of people. And then it got slowly better and better, and then people started doing better at like the World Championship back in 2017. I know I'm old. But yeah, so watch out being like directly near it. It has a good diagonal option with downer below. It doesn't have a diagonal like vertical option if you're above, so that's something you can think about. Think about like dead zones just like that. Horizontal, it's got side light, but it doesn't have horizontals like further away than stacked. So if you're pretty far away, then you're kind of fine. I just want to be like grounded super close. So diagonal is pretty nice when they're grounded. And yeah, watch out for Sairs. They have a lot of BS that looks punishable but isn't, so just being ready.